Okay, today I'm going to talk about basic masking. Masking is an extremely useful feature in After Effects. And basic masking is really easy. I've started out by creating a composition. I've named it Masking 1. And it's just the HDTV 1080, so it's 1920 by 1080, 29.97 at 3 seconds. Say OK. Command Y, that's going to give me a new solid setting. And I'm going to make the solid 800 by 800. And I've just got it as a red color. Leave it at that. Say OK. Now the way masking works is with the layer selected, we use one of our vector tools, either the shape tools or the pen tool. So I'm going to just choose the rectangle shape tool. And I'm going to click outside my layer here. And it automatically creates a mask down here. So let's open up the mask properties. This is really important, this section right here, where we have add, subtract, intersect, light and dark, and difference. By default, it's on add. So that means when the mask crosses over my layer, it's going to reveal. First of all, I need to set a keyframe for mask path, and then I'll move out, let's say, 15 frames. Double click on the edge of the mask and I'll just drag it straight across. Let's take the rectangle tool again and I'm going to just click outside here on the right side, something like that, and that has created a second mask. And again, I'm going to create a keyframe for the mask path, and then I'll move forward another 15 frames, take my selection tool. Now double click on the mask, but this one I'm going to change to subtract. So now when I double click on the mask and pull it across, it's going to hide my layer. All right, then let's have another one come across. So we've got this coming out like this and across. Then I'm going to take the rectangle tool again and I'll just make sure my layer is selected, and then I'll put another mask out here. This is also going to be an add keyframe. Move forward 15 frames, take my selection tool, double click on the mask, and then pull it across. So then that again is an add, so it reveals my layer. Okay, now let's add another one. I'm going to zoom out so we can see a little bit more here. So we've got our animation doing this. Okay, and then at 115, I'm going to take my rectangle tool once again and put a mask up at top. This one I'm going to make an intersect. Put a keyframe, then move down 15 frames to 2 seconds. Selection tool, pull it down. Then I think I will backtrack a little bit and then start 2 more. So these will go on either side of that one. And these are both going to be adds. So let's put a keyframe at the beginning for these. I'm at 125. Then I'm going to move ahead roughly 15. Double click on those masks. Pull them down. Zoom in a little bit so I can see it better. Grab that middle point. Pull that down. Just click in the timeline anywhere to deselect for a minute and then reselect so that I can grab my 6th version here and pull this down. So what have we got here? We've got boom. Now masks don't have to be clean rectangles. Let's do another one. Create a new composition. I'm going to zoom out a little bit, and then Command Y. I'm going to create a new solid, same size as the composition. Say OK. And then I'm going to take the pen tool, and I'm just going to draw an abstract shape. And that creates my first mask. I'll take my selection tool, double click on the mask in the composition window, and move the path off screen. And then I'm going to set a keyframe for mask path. I'm going to move forward, say 10 frames, and then with the selection tool, I'll move it in. And then I'm going to deselect and reselect because I just want to get individual points and move those around. So we're going to be animating the shape of this thing as it moves across the composition window. Okay, so it comes in, it's moving across like that. I'll move down another 10 and drag it across. I'm going to deselect it and grab on these guys and maybe pull this one out. I'm just randomly changing the shape. It comes across like this, then it changes into this other shape. Let's take that all off. All right, now let's try one with the ellipse tool. I'm going to make a new composition. I'll call this one circle mask. Same size as before. And create a new solid. Now the reason I'm working with a solid instead of the shape layers is because if you create a shape layer, you can't use these vector tools to add masks in the same way. What you're going to do is create additional shapes. I'm going to delete that one, Command Y, bring up my solid settings, make this one comp size and say OK. Then I'm going to take my ellipse tool and I am going to create an ellipse in the middle. So I'm just going to hold down the Command and Shift, drag out, make it to action safe. Now this is where I want it to be, say at 15 frames. So I'll move to 15 frames, open up reveal my properties, put a path keyframe, move back to the beginning, take the selection tool, double click on the edge of the mask, hold down the Command and the Shift and drag that all the way down to the middle so it essentially disappears. I don't want it to be there at the beginning. I don't want it to just pop on. I want it to be a little bit of a reveal. So I'm going to add an opacity keyframe at about, let's make it 3. At 3 frames, I'll do an opacity at 100 and then go back to the beginning, go home and make this 0. So it's going to fade up slightly and it goes big. Okay, so then that creates a new keyframe. And then let's bring it back down. So I'll just take the selection tool, highlight that mask, the timeline, double click on it, hold down the Command and Shift, and then just bring it down. We've got this and this. And let's fade it out as it goes down. So at the end here, T for opacity, I'll put a keyframe at, it's going to be 0 actually. At that point, I'll move back in 3 frames. So I'm holding down the Command and left arrow, 2, 3. At this point, this will be at 100. So I'm going to go fade it up and then fade it out. So now make sure that the layer is still selected. I'm going to add another ellipse in the middle here. So Command Shift, I'm at 15 frames and I will put a mask path keyframe right there. I'm going to move ahead. This one, as this comes down, the other one's going to go up. So maybe at about 26. I'm going to take the selection tool, double click on this one, hold down the Command Shift and pull it out. Okay, now we don't see it doing anything at this point because we haven't changed this column over here. So if we did it at subtract, it's going to come up, that one's going to animate up, something like that. Other things we could animate, say, would be the feather. So we could start out, let's say start out with 10 pixel feather, bring it up. As it gets up closer to the camera, maybe I'll reduce that to 0. So it starts out softer, and then I'll have it go back down. Maybe as it goes down, I'll have it feather a lot more, so I'll go to like 60. We get something that looks like this. I'm going to put one more in the center. Whoops. I didn't have my layer selected, so I'm going to undo that one. Make sure I have my layer selected. Without the layer selected, I'm going to create a new shape layer, which is not what I want. I want to put a new mask in here. This one again is going to be on add, keyframe, beginning. So I'll move out to maybe 105. Take my selection tool. I'm going to zoom in a little bit, double click on this one, hold down the command and shift, pull this out. Okay, so it's fading out because I have these opacity keyframes on the layer. I'm going to move those so that as this one almost reaches its full size, it will fade out.